So first, let me tell you a little bit about Geeks Without Bounds. If you were in the session the last hour in the big plenary room, you might have heard Stephen say, we need a nonprofit organization that can build the software that isn't going to be built by for-profit companies because there's no profit motive in it. That's what we do. Geeks Without Bounds supports humanitarian open source technology through a combination of hackathons and an accelerator program. What that means is that we work with NGOs around the world, government agencies, UN agencies, and also just concerned citizens to spec out challenges on a range of issues. It might be a medical issue, it might be a civic engagement issue, it might be dealing with rural water infrastructure maintenance, disaster response. We do a lot of disaster response technology. So we spec out the challenges, and then we take those challenges to hackathons. Now, for those of you who know what a hackathon is, wipe that image out of your head for just a moment, and let me explain what a hackathon with Random Hacks of Kindness and Geeks Without Bounds is. So this is a weekend event, usually it's on a weekend, where we bring together technologists, designers, subject matter experts, and just ordinary people who are simply curious about what we're doing into a space. We spend a few hours having the subject matter experts teach the people about what the real challenge is. This is what we're really facing on the ground. This is what we're already doing to solve this problem. This is where it's working. This is where it's not working. Then the subject matter experts, along with the designers and the ordinary people on the street and the technologists, break up into teams and start working on prototyping possible solutions to these challenges. Throughout the entire process, the subject matter experts aren't there just as judges, they're there as participants in co-design. This is not about a marathon, this is not a competition. This is an opportunity to volunteer your time to work on something. It's collaborative, not competitive. We also take projects that might have been prototyped at one hackathon to consecutive hackathons. So we have major global events the first weekend in June and the first weekend in December every year. And then we also have lots of other one-off events that happen just in one or two locations at different times during the year to work on different kinds of projects. So let's just take an example. There was a water hackathon in London in 2010. One of the projects that was pitched there was this PhD student, a cartographer, had been down in Uganda mapping, of all things, flamingos. And he noticed that wherever he went, there were broken water mains just in the middle of nowhere that nobody knew about. And if you continued on a mile, 2 miles, 3 miles, there would be a village or a town with no water. And the village or the town would not know why they did not have water. And nobody back in the city knew why the village or the town was using so much water. What was really happening was that there was a break somewhere. And he didn't just see this once or twice. He saw it repeatedly in different contexts throughout his travels in Uganda. He came to London and he said, we need to find a way to let people who happen to be out and about and see these broken water mains to tell the authorities, this is broken, this is where it's broken, come fix it. So at that hackathon in London in 2010, they built something called Taarifa. Taarifa means information in Swahili. And what it is it's an application where you can send an SMS, just a regular old SMS that you can do with any dumb phone, right? That goes into a system, goes into a database. There's a web front end that the government can use to see where all of the broken points are. They can also either call in a contractor to go fix it, or they can send an SMS out to tell a specific contractor who's close to it to go fix it. The contractor can then send a message back saying, I fixed it. The initial reporter can, depending on whether it's turned on or not, that's a different issue, can get a message back saying, it's fixed, will you verify? So there's a full cycle back and forth in order to track getting something fixed. So a prototype was built in a weekend. 3 months later, it was managing water systems throughout Uganda for the next 2 years. Let me tell you that this is a bad idea. Don't ever launch something after 1 weekend of development. Bad idea. But the good news is that even though it was launched that quickly, because we take things from one hackathon to the next, we were able to build on that community. Those communities are online participatory communities at the same time as being physical communities. Because while we have hackathons in person, the group in London doesn't necessarily ever get to see the group in Berlin face to face, or the group in Ranchi, India, or the group in Seattle, Washington, right? So we have all these different communities where we have anywhere from 1 volunteer to 5 volunteers who are all putting something into the project. It might be that they have connections with government people that they can help open up the doors to pull this system into a new country. It might be that they are really good at graphics, so they're doing the graphics. It might be that they're a programmer. The whole thing is written in Python, Flask. If any of you happen to be Flask programmers and want to work on this, we are working on some adjustments to the system in Tanzania, where we're about halfway through a rollout, a much cleaner rollout of the system throughout Tanzania. So how do we bind these communities together? If you only have the in-person piece, then you lose out on all the connections across the countries. And also, if you only have the in-person piece, then you've got a bunch of people in London deciding how to fix a problem in Uganda and Ghana and Tanzania. And I don't need to explain to you guys that that just sounds like colonialism, doesn't it? So how do we bring this to the people of Uganda and the people of Ghana and the people of Tanzania to decide how they want to actually make this product work, how they want to work with the system, and in as many cases as possible to actually improve their local capacity to build these things themselves. And this is where the online participatory culture comes in. So we use a lot of different tools. We rely on Google far more than I would like to. In a perfect world, we would have an other option, a totally open option that we could get everybody onto. Team. And we have to use a lot of other tools. So Google Hangouts works really well in first world countries, works terribly in a lot of low resource countries. In India, it's next to useless. In Tanzania, forget it. Skype, however, works really great in those places. So you have to be able to move from one piece of technology to the other. So one of the challenges that we have is how can we unify those things so that all of our different pieces of community can talk to each other better. Because in addition to having a project like Tarifa, where we've got these developers in lots of different locations, and we've also got deployments in lots of different locations. Like, how do we both have all of the people within Tarifa being able to talk to each other on the same platforms, but also how do we help all the people working on Tarifa to also work with our teams in Ecuador and Guatemala, which are working on completely different water-related projects that might also benefit from the knowledge and experience that the older, more established Tarifa team has. So those are, some of the things about the cultural issues that we're dealing with and the challenges. And I will let the next person speak.